Earlier this week, all of you received a letter from the school district outlining some events pertaining to lookalike drugs at Dennis Elementary. Mrs. Hunter, the principal, and I wanted to come to you today and give you an update on what we have found out this week. I want all the parents to understand my main objective as a superintendent is to make sure that we provide and address not only the academic needs of students, but the social and emotional needs as well. And when we have situations to where we really need to identify why something is happening, not just to identify what do we need to do to provide a consequence or how can we remove a child from the environment. Every child matters. Every child's important. Our goal is to determine why kids make the decisions that they do. In order to do that, when we contact parents and we allow the community, for example, at Dennis Elementary, to understand what is happening, it has been amazing, overwhelming to see that the people come together, they speak to their kids, and they were able to provide us the information so that we could identify why such young children acted in the way that they did. So today, to clear the air with some things, we see a lot of speculations, and I have to explain to the public, we're unable from time to time until we have specifics to relay those to the community, as we are responsible to protect the identity of our students. So when we have an isolated incident, sometimes we will release that and sometimes we will not. But due to the fact this is multiple students involved, we're able to release this as we have an epidemic issue at Dennis to some extent that needs to be addressed. So today I've asked our building principal, Mrs. Hunter, to be here to give us the specifics on what she found and how she conducted the investigation.
Thank you. As you know, on Tuesday evening, there was an email that was sent to each and every one of our Dennis families, and it basically encouraged you to speak with your children, to send in any information that you may have that you thought may be helpful in this investigation process. For that, Dennis, I want to say thank you. As a result of that email, we talked to probably 30 or more kids. I spoke with or heard from at least 15, if not more, parents who did provide some very pertinent information to our ongoing investigation. That led us into Wednesday, where we were able to accurately kind of dig deeper in trying to determine what these quote white pills were that were potentially used in this lookalike drug incident. It also allowed us to uncover that there were also quote shrooms that had been referenced throughout this situation as well. I do want to let parents know that throughout our 3-day investigation now, we do know that the quote shrooms were simply taken out of someone's refrigerator and brought to school. So we do not have any reason to believe that they were dangerous in any type of way. We did not confiscate any of those white pills or the quote shrooms. So to our knowledge, we are still unclear of what the white pills actually are. If you look in our student agenda, and the reason why we choose the term lookalike drugs is because Rule 30 specifically outlines that no matter what an item is, if it's being portrayed as a drug or some type of foreign substance, we reference that as a lookalike drug, because quite honestly, we don't know what that substance is. Could it be something simple? Sure. Could it have been something, perhaps of danger? It possibly could have been. And so that's what has made it very difficult to go on record, if you will, and clearly identify what these quote white pills are. As both a principal and a mom, I think the one thing that is most concerning, as we've spoken with many students and many families, is that the consistent message has been that our students are trying to fit in, that they're trying to be cool. If you're like me, I've had some conversations with my own children this week at home, and we really talked about the importance of being a leader and not a follower. We reviewed some what adults may reference as common sense rules of, what to accept from people, what not to accept, how to, have some of those social emotional conversations when you're dealing with peer pressure. And so we just kind of thought it best at this point, now that we have a little bit more clarity, to just kind of sit down and talk and be able to share this information as precisely as we could in this moment, now that we've had several days to just really talk and reflect and get to the bottom of this.
So I think the question now that we have to look at is, where do we go from here? And can you talk a little bit about, perhaps, I know you met with some of the kids today, what are some of the next steps that we're going to be looking at your building?
Absolutely. This morning, we pulled our entire fourth grade down to the cafeteria, and we just reviewed our expectations for behavior, for appropriate both language, appropriate behaviors. And so we were able to really reinforce what our expectations are for Dennis. I think another next step for us is we definitely want to engage our DARE officer to just come in and really use this as an educational opportunity, really just to talk with kids about the dangers of drugs and give them some strategies to use if they're ever presented with a situation like this, how they could socially and emotionally navigate through that. I also just think that we need to consistently engage our parents and continue to educate them. I think so often as a mom of a third grade daughter and a kindergarten son, I think we just maybe assume that our kids are comfortable socially, and that they wouldn't do some of these things. But I think for me this week it's been heartbreaking. It's been just emotionally tough. As I sit and talk with many students who have expressed that they just want to be cool and that they just want to be able to fit in, and so I think from another next step standpoint, I would like to engage our counselors in really talking about how to make friendships, how to be appropriate, and giving our kids the tools that they need to feel successful and be appropriate at all times.
Well, thank you for your thorough investigation. And I'd like to conclude by saying, several weeks ago I did a video about how we were moving our principals. And, there was some controversy at that point about the shift in things. But from a superintendent's position, I believe it's my job to facilitate education for your kids, not only academically, but also social and emotional. And as I stated then, we had at that point had 15 students, 7th and 8th grade, that had either been influenced by drugs and alcohol, in trouble with law enforcement, and or in trouble at school. We're looking at some different things instructionally, management-wise, of how we can involve more education about suicide prevention, dating violence, drugs and alcohol prevention, and also educating our parents. Living in this day and time with social media, it's really been a surprise to me that kids this young would be able to identify a pipe-like structure. So there's things I think as a community we need to look at, and the only way to do that is to have courageous conversations like this and to tell people what's happening. Do we have an epidemic issue in Springboro? No, we don't. Most districts would be thankful to only have 1 or 2 issues a week. They have them on a daily basis. In Springboro, 1 or 2 a week is too many. And it's very difficult when we just say, well, it's part of being a boy. Well, it's part of being young. No, when kids get 15 years old and they're with their friends and they still want to fit in, they have the opportunity to access real drugs. We have to act now to make sure that doesn't happen later. So anything we can do, or if you have suggestions, feel free to email me. Feel free to email the principal. Our PR person, Mrs. Karen DeRosa, she's often on Facebook on behalf of the district. Feel free to let us know your thoughts on what you feel we can do. It's easy to pass judgment. It's easy to pass criticism. But the bottom line here is we've come to the public with what's happening. We'd like to hear from you because we respect you, admire you, and want your input to do what's best for all of our kids to make sure they have a very successful future. I appreciate the way you've taken time to focus on the needs of the kids and pulled in the right resources to make that happen. And with that said, if you have Questions, concerns, please feel free to contact the school district. We are here to facilitate education for your child, and anything you can do to be part of that, we welcome it and appreciate it. Thank you.